Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna Stashkina and today we are going to talk about wafer paper, of course. And I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful wafer paper dogwood branches and also how to make quick leaves and how to assemble everything together. Let's begin. I have, of course, a template for you. If you want to download this template, I have a link. You can do that, but basically for this demonstration, you will need a piece of wafer paper, scissors, some things to condition our wafer paper, and let's start with making our center. So for the center, for this dogwood center, we probably all have this Wilton basic formers molds, and I'm going to use this one because it's made for dogwood, but I'll show you the other way how to make it without using any molds. I have a piece of gum paste. This is just a basic gum paste recipe, and I colored this gum paste using olive gel color by AmeriColor. I like this olive color because you can see it's like light wood green-ish color, and I think it's just beautiful and works perfectly for my needs. And I'm going to take a piece, maybe like a pea-size amount, something like this. So here I have two pieces, and I will take one piece of 20 gauge wire. This is just green stem wire. 20 gauge, you can use 18, maybe 22, depends on the size of your flower. And I have my pieces ready. I'll take just one piece here, fold it over to make a tiny hook this size, and fold it over to make it like T shape, just a basic hook for the center of your flower. Then I'm going to put my pea-size gum paste here in the mold. This is dogwood center mold, and just press my wire inside. While I still have my piece of gum paste here and my wire, I'm going to close it and bring everything together. So that is going to be my dogwood center. And I'll take a pair of tweezers. This is just basic tweezers we all have. And I'm randomly pinching my gum paste to make it a little bit more visually interesting compared to just using a basic mold or veneer. Something like this. I will make a hook and I will put it to dry upside down. If you do not have your mold and you just want to use a piece of gum paste, I'm going to do the same. Take a piece of 20 gauge wire, make a tiny hook, fold it over, and I'm going to bring my gum paste over my hook. And my gum paste is fresh, so I do not feel the need to dip it into gum glue or egg white. For me, that works just like that. And I'm making some sort of central shape. You can see it's a little bit like triangular. And I will take my tweezers and just start pinching randomly, because actually for dogwood flower, this is the flower, so the center is the flower. The rest, like what we would call petals, these are not petals, they are bracts. And you can just shape your center using basic tools you have. You don't need to buy a mold to make a dogwood center. And again, I will make a hook and put it to dry upside down. And next, to make our petals, let's call them petals because it will make my life easier. So what I have here is my template. To make each flower, you need 2 small size petals and 2 large ones. It depends on your size, it depends on your preference, but I found that it makes the flower look the most realistic if you use 2 and 2. And here I have just a piece of basic wafer paper. This is Saracino brand, so it's 0.27 millimeters wafer paper. If you have any other brands, it doesn't matter if your wafer paper has 2 sides, like one is shiny and one is a little bit more bumpy side, you can use it for this application. and I have my flower template pre-cut. So I have this piece, and what I find, if you're working with wafer paper, you can cut a few layers at a time to save time. So for me, for this flower, I need just two, but basically two in each size. But basically you can cut up to 4 layers. Mostly depends on the quality of your scissors. These are craft scissors and they work wonderfully for wafer paper. And I have 2 layers of my wafer paper for my large petal. I'm placing my petal template on top and I'm going to cut everything together. So I'm cutting through 1 layer of paper and 2 layers of wafer paper. And now I have my 2 petals large size that I need to make this flower, and I have 2 in small size. And I also, you can pre-cut or make your tiny ones if you're going to make a bud or you want to make your flowers in different stages. I will bring my floral pot. This is just your regular foam, soft foam floral pot that you will use for any of your application, like for gum-based flowers, for example, or even for modeling. You don't need to buy any specific tools to work with wafer paper. You can use the same tools you have if you're working with any sugar flower. So I have my 4 petals. Let's color them, or condition, I should say, and shape them. First of all, to shape, I will use my Dresden tool. I'm not going to use any veiners, nothing, because I don't have any dogwood veiners. That's why I'm going to use my Dresden tool. I'll show you how to do that. Then I will need this flat synthetic brush to apply my conditioner. And to mix my conditioner, I'm going to use 2 simple ingredients. Glycerin, this is by Wilton, but any food grade glycerin would work, and water. The mixture is about half teaspoon to 2 tablespoons of water, but if you want to download the template and know the exact measurements, it's in the link in the description. I already have this mixture pre-made. I use it and I call it AC Tonic as Ostashkina cakes. I just pre-mix it and have it in a bottle, so every time I need to work with wafer paper, I have my mixture ready to go. And why I'm using glycerin? Because glycerin is a humectant. Glycerin most of the time is an ingredient in your fondant or gum paste, or even if you're using any gel colors, most of them contain glycerin because it's a humectant and it's food safe. So using glycerin with your wafer paper will help it stay soft and like flexible for a long period of time. Like these flowers, I made them a month ago or so, and you can see they are still relatively flexible and relatively soft. So if you're going to assemble this on your cake, if you're working on a wedding cake or making a wedding cake, you can see nothing is going to happen. That's the beauty of wafer paper. And if you're using alcohol, if you don't want to use glycerin and you want instead of that use alcohol, vodka, for example, your wafer paper will become very brittle. That's why I don't recommend using any alcohol with wafer paper. In my experience, it's never a good thing. So here I have my conditioner. I'm going to load my brush, but I still do not have a lot. I'm trying to squeeze as much moisture from my brush as possible, and this is just a mixture of water and glycerin, nothing else I have here. I can add just a touch of pink gel color for you to see the application of these conditioners. Some dogwoods are white, some of them are pink, so we are going to make this light pink. And to color your conditioner and to color your wafer paper, you can use any gel color, you can use airbrush color or even petal dusts. I prefer to use gel color, it's just easier. And I'm going to bring one of my petals, this is the small size, and gently paint on one side with my conditioner. And make sure that I have enough moisture to shape it. I will put it here on the floral pot to dry. And I'm applying my conditioner only to one side, to my face side or the face side of my flower, I should say. And for me, that is going to be the bumpy side. I don't know if you can see the texture, but some of this, one side is completely smooth, there is no bumps, nothing, and the other side is a little bit more textural. Both sides are equal, it's up to you which side you prefer to use. I prefer to use this bumpy side just because I get a few more visual interest, textural interest without any work I put into it. So I'm conditioning my wafer paper on one side, all 4 petals. Depends on your humidity. Sometimes if it's really dry in here and I cannot work on 4 petals at the time, that I condition like 2 and then 2 and 2. Again, depends. Now it's 45% humidity here, so I can work on 4 petals at a time. And if you work with wafer paper and you feel like humidity is so high, your wafer paper is melting, it just disintegrates, what you can do is you can use a little bit of cornstarch. This is just regular cornstarch. Gently tap on my wafer paper to absorb extra moisture and to stop wafer paper from melting. Then to shape my dogwood petals, I'm checking if it's still soft and I can work on that. I'm going to use sharp end of my Dresden tool, press it in the middle, and then draw light lines connecting my top and my starting point. So that's what I did using just my Dresden tool. And I will take something like a spoon former or any petal former you prefer to use, and I'm going to place it there to dry. And same for my larger petals. And everything I apply all the texture on my bumpy side, because that is going to be the face side of my flower. If you want to do an extra step, you can take your ball tool and just cup this upper parts of your petal. It's up to you. It depends on how much time you want to spend on your flowers. Usually it's just enough to use just your Dresden tool and shape your petals. And I have a few petals that are already dry. And you can see that sometimes I love to make my petals so curly and so misshapen. In my opinion, it brings a lot of visual interest to a flower and it makes all the flowers look different. Even I use the same template for every flower, but because some of these petals are more curly and some are flat, it looks interesting every time. And next step, what I'm going to do is to make it look like a dogwood petal, because now it looks like a regular petal for any flower. And I'll show you the way I found the easiest to shape it. I'll take just a touch of ivory gel color, just a little bit on my brush and on my table. And I will take my wafer paper conditioner again, mix it together. I'm not mixing in my palette because I want my brush to stay almost dry. You can see that it's almost going to be like a dry brushing technique. And I will hold my petal and stample just slightly. Stample here to add this color to my petal. While it's still soft, because I apply a little bit of moisture, I'm going to take my Dresden tool, the thick end of my Dresden tool, and just gently dig a few holes, things in my petal. Let's do this again. So I'm applying tiny amount of moisture here in the middle, because if you saw real dogwoods, they look very interesting because of this petals in the middle being all turned up like this. And I will do this for all my petals. So the other thing you can do to make it even more interesting is just use a brown food marker and touch on your wafer paper just a little bit. Now we are going to take our petal dust. I have here different shades of petal dust, but I'm going to use this fern color. This is by the Sugar Art, but any light green color would work. And I will take my fluffy brush to color my petals. I have 4, 2 smaller and 2 larger one. I'm going to dip my brush in a small amount of green. This is fern green petal dust, and just touch on the bottom here to make it more dimensional. Make it look like you spent a lot of time working on these flowers. And if you have a darker color, you don't have any of these light shades, you can mix it with cornstarch, or you can mix your petal dust with white color. I have here just regular white, and I use it a lot if I need to make my shades even lighter than that. If you're going to work on your dogwoods and you want to make a lot, you can plan your flowers through several days. For example, day 1 you will cut all the petals and make centers. Day 2 you will shape them and let them dry. Like I have here, you can see that these are the one we made right now, and these are a few days in advance. For wafer paper, it's very easy that you can plan the way you need it to be. And I will take my center and also use this green color to dust my center. This is gum paste center and it's already dry. I'm going to dust this a little bit to bring all the colors together and make it look more realistic. And we are going to start assembling our flowers. So for wafer paper centers, like this one I have out of gum paste, wafer paper doesn't want to stick to gum paste or to any other things except to itself. So I find it's easier to do is to use a piece of wafer paper, like I have scraps here, and usually I make my own wafer paper glue because I find it's easier to work with wafer paper using wafer paper glue. And basically I take the scraps and I add water and I melt them in microwave until it becomes this gel-like consistency. And that's what I'm going to use for my wafer papers, my wafer paper glue. Just using on the brush a little bit. And to prepare my gum paste center to work with wafer paper, I'm going to cut just a small piece of wafer paper. It doesn't matter the size. I just need to cover this bottom part so my wafer paper will stick to itself. And I'm going to take a touch of wafer paper glue to soften this and stick it on the bottom. So here I'm trying to cover this gum paste part. So we have gum paste on top and wafer paper on the bottom. And you can set it aside and leave it to dry. And then when it becomes dry, it will look like this. So I have again my wafer paper on the bottom and gum paste on top. And I will start assembling my flower. And to assemble my flower, I usually use something like a bumpy foam or even a piece of craft foam with the center if you want. Depends on the size or depends on the shape you want your flower to be. Usually I just take this bumpy foam and place my flower upside down. So I have my 4 petals, 2 large and 2 small, and my center. First, I'm going to take a touch of my wafer paper glue. Just touch this on the bottom of my small petals, 2 at a time, and then on my large petals as well. But I'm going to attach my small petals first. And because I'm using wafer paper glue, you can use water and maybe gum glue. You should try. But for me, wafer paper glue is worth making because then my petals will be attached to my center in no time. So I'm going to place my first one and my second one the opposite way of that. So these are my first 2 petals, the small ones, and the same for my large ones. Just a touch more of wafer paper glue and stick it here on top of this. And if you want your flower to be more closed one, like the newer flower, you can leave it like this and leave it to dry upside down. Or you can gently play around and assemble on a foam pad or any, like a piece of foil or something, to leave it to dry in this shape. And same, I have a few smaller ones that I made for my bud. I'm going to use a touch of this brown food marker to here the central part. Then I will take another center like the one I made earlier and apply more glue on both sides in a V shape because I want to make this more like closed one flower. And then I'm going to cover my flower 2 petals opposite way and 2 more here start to open. And if you're going to dust your wafer paper bud, like I have this one, I'm going to dust this on the outside. For flowers, we dust our petals on the inside, so on the bumpy side, because our flower is going to be open and it's going to be visible like this. But for our buds, I'm going to dust this on the outside here. So I'm going to use my green petal dust and make it look more vibrant. Just a touch of green color brings it to life. So here I have my dogwood bud. And to assemble your wafer paper and to make your branches, so usually what I do to assemble my wafer paper is I take just regular floral tape, same you use for your flowers, just stretch it and bring it together. My tiny flower, and same for my larger flower. And I will bring this together. My wafer paper is a little bit too soft, but you get the idea. Then I will probably put it to dry upside down and place it together in an arrangement like this. So if you want to make this arrangement and put it on a branch like I have here, I have a few leaves and I'll show you how to do that. To make my leaves, I'm going to bring my palette again. So we're going to use the same mixture, glycerin and water, but to color my wafer paper, I'm going to use this olive color, same I used to color my gum paste to make centers. So I'm going to take just, I would say, decent amount of this gel color to make it look like a dark green leaf. And I will take a piece of wafer paper. This piece of wafer paper is about roughly like 5 centimeters, and I'm going to fold it in half, bumpy side out. So I have few pieces of wafer paper folded like this, and I will take a 26 gauge wire. Usually when you're working with the sugar paste, you're using your wire maybe for leaves like 24, 26. For wafer paper, you can go one number higher. So if you want to wire your petals, you can go up to 30 or even 32, because wafer paper is so light, you shouldn't have any problem wiring your wafer paper. That's why for wafer paper leaves, I find that using 26 gauge wire is enough most of the time. And I will need 2 pieces to make my leaves. So I'm going to prepare my conditioner mixture, check it if I like the color, and gently paint on one side with light strokes to make wafer paper sticky. Place my wire in between 2 layers, like first layer. So I'm inserting my wire here, pressing down and closing with the second layer of wafer paper and painting this on top. I will do the same for my second leaf. And now I know that my wafer paper is soft and I can cut and shape my leaves. If you want to make your leaves fast, if you need to make a lot, you just need to cut your shape, your basic leaf shape, keeping my wire in the middle. So you can do just that. Take your floral pad and your Dresden tool and gently shape it. You can see it's already looking like a leaf shape, even it's made out of wafer paper and we didn't spend a lot of time working on that. You can do something like this and then shape it. Because I have my wire in the middle, I can shape it any way I want it to. But if you want to go one step further and you want to make it even fancier, at this stage when your wafer paper is still soft, you can use any leaf veneer cut. And I'm going to place it in my veneer, face side up, and press and hold for, I would count till like 5 or 10, depends how much time you have, because we have 2 layers of wafer paper and wire in between, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer for the veins to transfer onto your wafer paper. But now we have our wired and textured wafer paper leaf. So you can see all these textures came more pronounced and visible. So you have 2 options how you can make your wafer paper leaves. You can wire and texture, or you can use just Dresden tool and shape it using your Dresden tool. And to assemble, I just used a few pieces of brown floral tape to put everything together. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this tutorial. I hope you learned something new and you're going to try making your wafer paper dogwood branches. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you ever saw dogwoods in real life. I think they are amazing flowers, and I think they can be used in wedding designs or any summer cakes because I love them so much. Thank you again. See you next week. My name is Anna Stashkina. Bye bye.